Is the only thing that's got me anywhere is hard work. That's all I got. I'm not the best shot. I'm not anything. So all I know is to work hard. So I can't really back off of it because that got me to the dance.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep riding it. I just keep, all I can do is give all I got.
You're a big fan of Ranella and what he has to say, and I am too. And that's kind of the way I look at it is like we need to keep hunting, wolf hunting, whatever kind of hunting we like to do, and just show it in a positive light so that they can't use it against us and get that majority of the people to where they're against hunting, and then we're all screwed. So.
And it went a little crazy, and we got between this big boar, this dominant boar, and this sow, and he came at us.
Wow.
And we were looking for that broadside shot, but he's like going to barrel us over. And
I think you got to be around those things. First of all, they're so big.
Yeah.
Like it's a horse with a tree grown out of its head, and it's screaming like an animal from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even seem real.
Hello, all right. You're listening to the Gritty Bowmen, home of gritty bow hunting films, interviews, tall tales, and a wee bit of manly boasting.
I'm South Cox, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
This guy could have truly been anybody he wanted to be in the archery world. You know, he was a fantastic shooter. And he only paid me $20 to say that.
I know.
Yeah. No, it's just about feeling good.
You had more chins than a Chinese phone book for a while.
Man.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, he's right. He said, "Goonies never say die." We're going. The antelope he shot when I was with you was, it was the dark side of the moon. It was like their two hobbits came by and threw a ring at us. Right? It was nothing out there. And
On this episode of Gritty Bowmen, Aron and myself hang out with his longtime friend Marc Smith, a.k.a. Muley Slayer. Marc Smith has, in Aron's own words, killed more things than smallpox. Specifically, Marc is all about mule deer. Marc gives us a glimpse of a less experienced Aron Snyder and how he first cut his teeth on Colorado mule deer. And Aron shares some great stories from their past.
If you like the show, please go to our website at grittybowmen.com and subscribe to this podcast and tell your mates and pals about us. Do us a favour and please take a moment to leave us a rating or a review on iTunes or on our YouTube channel. Send your questions and podcast ideas to grittybowmen@gmail.com. If you're listening to this on iTunes, you can see the video version of this podcast on our website at www.grittybowmen.com.
all right, everybody, welcome to the Gritty Bowmen. I'm your closet co-host, Aron Snyder. I've got Marc Smith beside me and Brian Call. And we brought Marc on today. Marc, I have known you. Well, actually, let's tell a little bit about Marc. Marc, you're known as the Muley Slayer. You've been crushing muleys. Well, I've known you since 2000?
2000.
2000.
Yeah.
So we're old.
Yeah,
You're
man, we're
technically
getting there.
old. I'm
Yeah,
older.
I'm a grandpa, man.
Yeah. I'm not a grandpa yet.
Yeah.
But we've known each other for a long time. And I saw Marc yesterday, and I'd wanted to do a podcast with him. I'm like, hey, dude, you mind doing a podcast? So we actually met shooting tournaments initially, I think.
Yeah, well, I moved.
Really?
I moved to Colorado in October 2000, and I had to go set a bow up. I was getting ready to go to Kansas on a whitetail hunt, and I went into Archery Adventures. So it was like October time frame. I was getting ready to go to shoot whitetails in Kansas, and I went in and I hung a target next to you, and I started splatting spiders out of the X's, and you were like, hey, you shoot pretty good. Are you new around here? And I said, yeah. And you said, well, let me fill you in on who's who around here. And from there, man, we just kept shooting tournaments together.
Really?
And started going out and making fun of everybody else because we sucked and they were good, especially, some of the local pros. And so we went around making fun of people together, and then we started chasing antelope together.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of off and on our careers in the industry started paralleling each other and staying in touch. You'd even moved away up into Yankee land for a while, like Wisconsin or something.
I moved
right?
all over, yeah. I moved, I was overseas for a while. I was in Minnesota. I was in Washington for a while. I moved up I was in Alaska for a few months.
Yeah.
I moved all over the place.
Well,
so.
I'd get emails, on my website that I had running at the time, Wild Country Outdoors, and they'd be like, hey, man, Snyder, I want to ask you about spiral cams. And the main one was always, hey, you got some bows for sale? You got some bows for sale? You got some bows for sale? And so we stayed in touch, and then all of a sudden one day, he popped back up on the scene in Colorado, and we haven't hunted together in years, but it's a mutual respect thing. If I can say that about him, it's a mutual respect, and
Yeah.
Just,
Where do you live now?
I live in the Dallas, Texas area right now. I was in Colorado for almost 15 years, and then back in 2012 through a job promotion, I with a company for years, and I moved back to Dallas, big market there. But I still migrate out west every fall and keep hunting muleys and elk. So.
Yeah, because you worked for Source, Source Refrigeration,
yeah, for 20 years, and then they went through a merger. Things didn't go so well, so I let my biggest competitor poach me away. So you get to a point in your career where you get to name your price, and I had to do it and made a good change for my family. And it's been I work for Dean Mechanical now, and it's like,
how do you like Texas?
Man, I love I'm from Texas, so a lot of people are like, how are you going to adjust? But man, when you're in the grinder and work all day, you don't see the mountains anyway, whether you're in Denver or Dallas. Yeah. So being from Texas, grew up in Texas, it was actually going home for me. I'm in my 40s now. My parents and my wife's parents, we've been married 27 years, and our parents are getting older together, and it's just time to be back. And in the 2 years I've been back, 3 years I've been back to Texas. There's been purposes. My brother passed away last year. He's only 42 years old. It was tragic.
Oh, wow.
But so I hate to put a damper on the show, but God has a plan, and I'm a believer. So I'm there with my family, and there's a reason I'm back there. But it's not just about the greenbacks, but the family aspect of it. So I love Texas, man. I'm always going to be a Texan, matter where I live. So
So I remember your Mean Casey, which is your daughter.
Mean Casey.
Yeah, that's what his son called his daughter. Mean Casey.
Mean Casey.
And I have a picture of me when I was fat as crap. And Travis was standing in front of me about to my belt. Yeah. And Travis is about 6'5" now. How big is Travis? He's huge.
Yeah, he's 6'3".
Yeah, he's big. So that was at the state indoor probably in 2003.
Yeah,
maybe.
I got a lot of those pictures on my Facebook albums of tournaments and stuff, and Snyder's and a bunch of them shooting tournaments.
Who did win most of those tournaments, actually?
You did. Yeah. You should have been a professional 3D. When you were in your heyday, I think Levi Morgan would have had a hard time beating you on some of those days. He's the kind of guy to go out and miss a target and just start talking about deer hunting and goofing off. He'd miss a target. He'd be like, oh, crap, did I miss a target? Let me shoot 5 12s in a row and I'll get back even. And it's like when he focused, he could shoot like no one I've ever seen. And to this day, it's like we all have the things we like to do and go and do. But this guy could have truly been anybody he wanted to be in the archery world. He was a fantastic shooter. And he only paid me $20 to say that.
I know. Yeah, well, and I tried to give him a pack. He wouldn't take it. No. But I could shoot at one time for sure. But definitely, it was fun. At that, I was extremely cocky at that point in time. Mark was too, both. But I definitely tried. I was like, this guy's cool, right? But Mark was known in the industry and getting more and more known. Uh-huh. And we had a bit of a falling out at one point, mostly because I'm a knucklehead. But Mark has always been a great guy and a great ambassador. We talked about it before. A lot of it's jealousy, right? You see a guy being somewhere you want to be. Yeah. And Mark has always. Well, you only went 1 year. You didn't kill a mule deer.
And 20 years, there's been one season I didn't kill a mule deer. That's right.
One. And
I'm surprised he knows that. 2002, I didn't kill a mule deer.
I remember. Well, you were trying to kill a big one.
A big one, yeah.
Same thing like it happened to me last year, and you're like, yeah, I'm not.
I killed a 150-inch whitetail that year, though.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, but I remember you saying like, I like to shoot deer. I like hunting. I'm just going to shoot a good representative of the species and not focus on shooting a 200-inch deer. Because I remember, I think I talked to you that year. Yeah. And it bugged the crap out of you. Didn't kill a deer. And I know I remember that clear. But you shot a huge deer the year before.
Yeah.
Big like 178, 186.
Yeah, 186.
Yeah, big deer the year before. And you kill elk.
I've shot some.
Yeah.
I just like mule deer, man. They're my thing.
He's a killer, right? Like one thing I can say with let's say you're hunting and you're walking in with 4 guys and there's an animal. You're a killer too. Anthony's a killer. Yeah. And one of those guys is going to have 3 arrows off at that deer or elk, while the other 3 guys are thinking about what they should do. Mark's going to get that arrow off. Yeah, Mark's a killer. He'll hunt. I mean, he knows how to, because you've hunted everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, you'll find a way.
Yeah.
And
I just like it too much, I think, man. I don't know. But I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking ass crack out the front of the shirt fat. When I got out of the Army, I got big. I mean, you remember how big I got?
Yeah.
My head was, what you said my head was like a bastard rat.
A bastard rat.
Yeah, I remember that. But he got a little girthy as of late, and I got skinny. Now, I didn't make fun of him for that, but internally I was laughing a lot. But
I felt it every time I saw your face.
Yeah. Because I got down to, what, 190?
I got to a 42-inch waist. I got 250 pounds, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot to love.
I was an office guy, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't living in the mountains.
That'll do it to you.
I just
but you're still killing big muleys.
And I'm going to have to eat some crow in my seminar tonight because 3 years ago, I stood right in my seminar and I said this, and it's on video. A guy has it on YouTube. I said, I don't know where this whole thing came from, hunters or athletes. This is garbage, man. I'm just a country boy that likes elk steaks, and at the time I was like 235 pounds. I was justifying my belly to my crowd, right? And I'm like, you don't have to be this guy or that guy or whatever. And I might have even name dropped my buddy Cam Haynes in there a little bit. So today I got to stand there in front of my crowd again and say, I was wrong. Because I did get back in good shape, and I have been committed absolutely to fitness and health and lifting and just overall wellness for the last 8 months, and I'm down to 218. So I went from 250 to 218.
Wow.
And all I did, I'll plug some guys here, is I just went online, ordered up a Mountain Ops Conquer, started my process with their product, and it has changed my life plugging that, right? But I don't plug anything unless I believe in it 100,000%, right? It's part of my daily staple, and it's part of my life, and it keeps guys like him from making fun of me.
Dude, it's just, I look at it too like, you can not be in shape, but it bleeds into your whole life. Yeah. It's not just about hunting, it's just about feeling good.
You had more chins than a Chinese phone book for a while.
Man.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. You look good, man. You look good now.
I feel great, man. Yeah, I worked out at my hotel this morning.
When I met him, you six-pack, you were fit. I
was like 190 pounds then and ripped. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I remember, he was funny, right? Like when you could crack a joke quick on a 3D course. When we were shooting tournaments. But I was hunting with him. Well, I remember I got so bad, I got to a point where I remember saying, Mark, will you just shoot my damn antelope? Because I had missed 4 or something with a back tension.
Yeah, he threw it at him.
Oh, I was
You're like, he comes back in the Jeep, and he's like, I was in a Scout. I was driving my Scout. He comes back in the Scout, and he's like, you got an extra release in your pack back there? I said, yeah, I got a couple of Scots back there. Well, he's like, I just threw my it was a Carter hook deal, right?
Yeah.
A spike deal.
I was listening to Randy Omer.
And he said, I threw my release at the antelope. And you know what? He wasn't lying because I had to find one. And then we roll up on a herd of antelope. He gets out, makes a good stalk, and I'm watching through the Leicas from way off. And all of a sudden he draws back, and he was shooting like 80 or 90 pounds with 24 13s. And he draws back, boom, and you see this spark because it's right at dark. And you remember that?
Hit it in
right
the
off the antlers, man. I was like, don't throw my release.
That was probably the day after that was when, I don't know, we were out by Lyman or something.
Yeah. Out east.
And I was sprinting. Anyway, I puked, right? I was so fat. And I'm like, this is it.
Yeah, it was the next day,
Yeah, I stopped drinking soda. I haven't drank any since. It
was a life-changing moment because it's antelope, like 80-inch buck, it was a big one.
Yeah.
He's coming across the 2-track in front of us, and I said, Snyder, I think I'd already killed mine. I said, look, there's a good buck. And he gets out, and the buck just kind of goes over a hill, and I'm like, let's go. And I'm just at a mile jog getting over there, I look back, and his tongue hanging out, he's coming.
Bad.
He's like, and he's for years, it's like it's funny to be with someone when they have a life-changing moment. You never know what that's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And it was like that moment. I popped a Dr. Pepper, and he started drinking water like it swapped, right?
Well, the thing that obviously when you're young, like I had killed some stuff. Like I killed animals, but I mean I wasn't at the level he was at. Was one of the things. But the one thing I learned was that fitness plays a big role in it. Of anything that you do, I mean, it's better to be fit. You can kill stuff fat. I mean, we all do. I've killed stuff when I was fat, but at that point, in my mind, one of the main things I remember, even though that was an antelope hunt, is I will never be the guy that says I didn't get it because I wasn't physically capable. And now I took it to probably a level I shouldn't have, but or a different level. But I mean, I literally would have at least had a good shot at that antelope my fat ass was yakking because I couldn't keep up. So, and I remember that copper feeling in my throat. Had that, and I'm like
blood in the throat.
This is
blood in your lungs.
Yeah, this is a depressing level. But after that, I started doing adventure. I moved not too long after that. 2 years, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't very long after.
Started doing adventure races and got down to remember you saw a photo. You said you looked like an avocado on a toothpick.
Yeah,
I was mountain biking.
That was Mark.
Yeah, that was Mark. So, but yeah,
we just shoot it straight. Always have. Even when you piss me off, and I just pick up the phone, I call you, and I'm like, Snyder, you're pissing me off.
Yeah.
And then if I do something stupid, he'll be like, hey, man, you probably shouldn't do that. It's just, to not be what you call best friends, Snyder's a genuine friend because it's not about, we're not walking around constantly sniffing each other's hindies trying to figure out who's got what anymore. It's like, hey, man, that's cool. I respect it. And I'll tell you right now, we had a falling out, stupid jealousy crap one time. I called him up. He's like, hey, man, do you need to, calm down and call me back in 10 minutes? I'm like, damn it, Snyder, I'll freaking come down there with a stick, man. And,
he called me. He was like, hey, I heard this. Who said this? I'm like, yep.
Yeah,
I did. I said
got
that.
Got caught up in the moment. But you know what? At the time, man, I realize now that's when he was at his biggest. And I listened to y'all's podcast when you first started this
Steroids
thing. And he was all roided out, and his emotions. He started talking about watching movies, getting emotional and stuff. So as a Christian man, I love even my enemies, right?
Yeah.
I love everybody. If you're my friend and you make me mad, I'm never going to hate you. I'm going to try to see you through your deal, right? Well, we weren't that close that I'm going to see him through anything, no intervention. But I was mad at him, and I just thought, man, he'll just grow out of that or whatever. But when I listened to that podcast, I truly had a moment where I was like, you know what? God bless him, man, because he wasn't even probably himself.
Yeah.
I'm working hard, I'm trying hard, and I'm all roided out and crazy, and then I say some stupid crap, and I realize that, you know what, that's probably what it was. And that podcast actually shed a lot of light, so, kumbaya, man, you want to hug it out or something. Man, so it's all good.
Yeah, I've ever heard.
He's not into touching, but
I have to say, though, with with what he's talking about, I mean, whatever the case may be, that was another moment for me where I was kind of like, I'm just going to say it how it is, right? But there's no reason to add anything, right? So, there was things that I had said at that point that I should have never said, right? It was between me and Mark, right? Well, what happened or went on, it wasn't a big deal, right? But it was me. If I talk to Anthony, I don't really know Anthony. There's a level I probably shouldn't say anything to Anthony. But you and I can say whatever we want because it didn't go past us.
Yeah.
I went past the level that I never should have. But it was a moment that for me, I'm like, whatever I say from here on out, I would say to your face. And there was things I said that I would have never said to his face. So now, what I'm probably a little more honest than I should be. And
I like it, man. Dude, I know where you're coming from all the time.
Yeah. I think the honesty is solid. In fact, this podcast has done well in large part because Aron Snyder's on it a lot. And there's in the world, not even in the hunting industry, just in the world in general, there's not that many people that are that frank and open.
Yeah.
And Aron just lets it all out. There was a comment, and people can get offended because for that very reason. But I think more than anything, it's well received.
Right. Well, when I started, when I decided I was going to make archery and bow hunting industry my life, right?
Yeah.
This is what I want to be. I was a young man. I was in my 20s, and I looked around. And I said, you got to look around because you got to know who to be like. Who are you going to do? What are you going to do, right? And there was this one guy that I gravitated to was Randy Ulmer.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if I'm gonna emulate someone in the hunting industry, I've watched him. I sit around quietly in the background as an amateur watching him. I'm like, that's kind of the kind of guy I want to be. Now I'm not sitting there saying I'm Randy Ulmer,
right?
But at any tournament I go to, I'm in the hunt. If I'm on the hunt, I'm gonna kill, and I'm approachable to anybody who wants to talk to me anytime. I'm gonna be honest. And my wife, she's like my biggest supporter and everything, and she loves Randy too. And I've become friends with Randy, and she'll say, if I start getting fired up, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting lit about something. She's like, what would Randy do?
Yeah.
How would Randy handle this? And I'm like, I know, man. He'd smile and say, have a nice day, whatever. And so that's kind of I've always wanted to be first, integrity driven first, right?
I'm really curious, Aron, about what did you learn hunting with Mark? Like, obviously, made a big impact on you. What were the things that you learned from Marc that have changed you as a hunter?
Well, it'll be hard
or
to
as a person.
It'll be hard to explain, but there's people that look at like you kill a lot of stuff, right? And those people, Anthony, and there's people. I don't kill all big stuff all the time, but I kill a lot.
There's a lot of stuff,
and people wonder why. How do you do it, right? How do you do it? When I met Marc, I had killed some stuff, right? But not that much, usually a fluke. Oh, I killed a bull this year. Yeah. I really don't know how it's happening, and a bull hit the ground. I can't really remember all of it. Marc could just kill, right? Things hit the ground when he hunted. And I don't know that I necessarily learned, but I definitely was like, there's something about it, right? He's animals are hitting the ground consistently, much like, talking about when you go out, I know where you guys like hunt elk, and I'm pointing at Anthony. It's not the easiest place to kill a giant bull. You get it done, okay? Well, why is Marc able to go to the Four Corners Indian Reservation or Kansas and stuff dies? You're not lucky, right? Well, you may be lucky, but luck favors the prepared. The one thing I learned was, okay, there's something about what he's doing. Whether or not emulating, however you want to look at it, was I'm going to figure out what that special sauce is, which is hard work.
Yeah.
And now,
that is right.
I mean, people, they're like, how do you go and just go out and kill a bear? I'm like, well, I was there. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, things didn't work out quite like they planned because Ryan, my best friend, didn't do anything right. But he dropped me off the logging road, and I walked far enough, and there happened to be a bear there. And now if my big ass was not, sorry, Katie, for cussing, if my big butt was not out there, I couldn't have killed it.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't take the risk, you're not going to get the reward. So that risk may be spotting a mule deer 1.5 miles away, dropping everything you have, losing and gaining 2,000 feet in elevation. But if you didn't make that risk, you wouldn't be there. Or if you didn't, in your case last year, you might as well have moved to the woods. How long did you stay?
I stayed on the Wasatch right here, right above the city here. I stayed up 15 days.
He stayed so long, he turned Mormon.
Yeah.
That's how long.
Well done.
No, but 15 days, man. But I wasn't coming home with less than what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. I'm in a job and a career where I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's my seminars like today. I'm going to talk about it. Don't have unreal expectation. If you're not in the position to shoot a 200-inch deer, don't
spend 15 days.
Don't. Yeah. But if you can shoot a buck that you're happy with, and I don't care if it's a spike or a 2-point or 3-point, whatever, if it's a buck you're happy with and that's what your circumstances call for, I want you to shoot that and be real proud of it and happy with it.
Yeah.
There's not enough 200-inchers to go around anyway, right?
Yeah.
But
there is on internet scoring.
Yeah. Hold them out like that.
I'm good at those shots.
I don't. That's what I tell everybody too, man. I wish I'd have been born. Some people are like, are you glad you're 6'2" and 200 pounds? Yeah, until I kill something mediocre, then I wish I was,
little guy,
one of those little sporty guys. I can make anything look big. Yeah, but whatever. Yeah, whatever, man. It's
the thing. I mean, I think that is important. We talking about coming up, right? Like guys that weren't peckerheads. Marc was the first one I met that wasn't really a peckerhead. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention any names, right? But he was a cool guy.
Yeah.
Now, Marc has a lot of haters, like everyone. But people don't like Marc, right? Not very many, but I know why a lot of them don't. Well, when you're successful for that long, people aren't going to like you. Well, the one thing with Marc, wherever you went, that one year you killed 178-inch, I think, mule deer. Mm-hmm. You killed some kind of a bull. You killed a big buck in Kansas, I think.
Yeah.
Where we went, stuff died.
Yeah.
No matter what anybody says, take the hate out, it dies when you go.
Well,
you can't take that away from
I worked hard. That was the year you're talking about. I shot 4 record book animals on public land in that season, and I just studied up on. And you post this stuff. Back then there was no social media, but you had archery talk. You had places you could go share experiences, bow sight, whatever. And you want to share it, and you want to tell people what you do. And I was truly innocent. I just want to share it, and I love it. And I saw other guys doing it, and then you just get these people that they want what you have. They don't want to work as hard as you work. And you have to learn to weed that out. I
was gonna say what I learned with hunting with Anthony was being way more aggressive.
Yeah.
Like I was out there and I'd be like sneaking in on something and I didn't want to spook it. So I'd be real careful and cautious and I was so careful that I didn't kill anything.
Right. Too cautious.
And it took me a while to be like a lot more aggressive, like just getting in there after it, hunting it down, killing it, just being determined to kill it. There was a switch that flipped, and from that day on, it's just been different when I'm out there chasing an animal.
Right. You got to just go. Hey, he's a goer.
I'm a bad goer.
He'll go, man.
I'll plan on the way. Well, I've got a friend. He listens to podcasts. I'm not going to mention his name. He'll figure it out, but he'll do a map overlay of an overlay of a Google Earth of it. I'm like, just walk over and shoot. Man, it's not that big of a deal.
Just go, man.
Yeah. Well, we were sitting there planting a mule deer stock, and he planned the first stock so long the sun moved. He got up and moved again. So I'm thinking in my mind, man, it's another 3-hour plan. Like the worst thing a planner can have is for an elk to bugle when you get out of the truck.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Like my plan just went to hell in a handbasket. Dang.
Yeah, for sure, man.
What would you say, Mark, is the biggest mistake mule deer hunters make?
The biggest mistake mule deer hunters make?
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of mistakes you can make, but specifically talking high country mule deer hunting is giving up your location and not. It's kind of a combination of things, really. Yeah. It's too loaded of a question, but the thing that I see, I hunt public land exclusively 100%.
Okay.
I only hunt public lands, and that's who I am, right? What I see and what sabotaged some of my hunts this year, what took so long in Utah, is guys without the experience, they skyline themselves too much, and they approach from below. The number one killer of a mule deer hunter is a mule deer's nose. They can hear. They have those big ears. They can hear good. They can see good. And, where whitetails won't stand for any shenanigans, even a mature mule deer will stand for some shenanigans.
Yeah.
They'll see you on the ridge or they'll whatever, but if they smell you, the gig is up, and then they're gone. And they're so far gone that you have to abandon the hunt and go drop off the canyon, go to another ridge to try again. So I go at it. I'm not a military guy. I wasn't in the military. Mm-hmm. But I've read and studied a lot of military strategy, and I put that into my hunting.
Yeah.
And number one thing, man, is you don't want to ever give, let's just say the enemy, the opponent, the mule deer, you don't want to give them any inclination that you're in the basin. Don't skyline yourself. Don't approach from below. You're just not going to get. I mean, there's
all costs.
Somebody
just don't let
out
them know
there,
you're there.
Just don't let them know you're there, and don't come from below. Stay above them. Keep the wind in your favor, and don't. You can't 100,000% trust thermals are going to rise all day long. They're going to rise and swirl stuff. So get it on, go. If you see a buck that you think you can get an arrow in, go right now. Don't wait for him to get up. Don't wait for this, that, or the other. I've learned I just go. If I decide I want to shoot that deer, I'm just going to go right now, and I'm going to go from above and get down there. And if the wind does change, or if there's something in the circumstances changes to where I know for a fact, like I'm fixing to blow this up, I'm not going to get a shot, I will back out and wait and try again later.
Now, do you
I used to just
bucks?
set. I just sit and watch them for. I just sit and watch for 2 days.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, that's a third of my hunt.
Yeah.
Now I'd go, man, because sometimes you just get lucky.
Yeah.
And it works out. But I'd say just main thing is don't skyline yourself. Stay above the bucks. Keep the wind in your face. Sounds very easy, but it's not easy, especially in these mountains here in Utah. This is the crunchiest, driest, hardest, windiest stuff I've ever hunted.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Will you go after a feeding buck?
A feeding buck?
Well, so.
Yeah, man, I prefer it.
Robbie, it's funny. It's big because I'm friends with Kip, friends with you, friends with Robbie, friends with David, whatever. It's funny because
everybody has an opinion. South has an opinion.
Good God Almighty, never. And then the other guy's like, oh no, when they're feeding, you can kill them then, ambush them. And then some guys will take it out of context, and an ambush is, an ambush is a feeding buck, right? It ain't moving when it's laying down. But then other guys will take that as while it's feeding, they'll be putting the stock on, right? So will you stock a feeding buck, not ambush it?
Yes, absolutely, because he's walking, he's making noise. He's got rocks and dry stuff cracking under his feet. His jaws are clicking. He's eating. He's munching. When you eat, you can. If no one's talking to you and you're in a quiet room, you hear yourself eating, right? Buck's out there. He's eating. Bucks are usually they're in a bachelor group. Bucks around you are eating. Their antlers are in brush. They're making noise when they eat. I've shot a lot of bucks that were up feeding. And
I knew your answer already.
Yeah,
so
I'll get it. And I like to get in position to intercept feeding bucks. That's probably my number one. I've shot them in their beds. I've jumped them out of their beds. I've done every scenario you can almost think of, but my favorite is to intercept from bedding to feeding, where when they get out of the bed to feed, I want to be in a location where I can keep the wind in my favor in that small window and shoot them between those two transition periods, from bedding to feeding.
Now, what's your biggest buck?
My biggest buck, muley, is 192.
Yeah. And where'd you get that one?
New Mexico.
Yeah.
General public land tag.
And that was gun.
No, that was a gun. That was a 257 Weatherby Magnum, baby. Yeah. I'm not allergic to guns, man.
No,
That's my biggest. My biggest buck with a rifle is 192 Boone and Crockett. My biggest archery buck's 186, and then a 181 and some 170s, but 186 is the biggest.
Yeah, you've got everything from 140 to 190, basically. Yeah. Well, I remember you shot one year, and you told me about it, and I think you run out of time.
Yeah.
And you hit. I was like, is it like 150? And you're like, well, it's like 145. But I filled my tag. It was like the last weekend. You were off of that special highway.
Yeah. That's Colorado buck. Yeah. Shot him, man, right in the
And that's the thing. I don't think people, when I say he's a killer, if people knew where he shot that, what would you say, half of Denver hunts that area?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone, right?
Yeah.
But and I hunt that spot now. I mean, all the time. And once you have the dedication to climb, in your case, I mean, I think I remember where you.
Yeah.
It's a horrible climb.
Deep. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you know deer and you can climb, I mean, you basically walked up there and shot that deer in a day.
I just walked up there and shot the deer in a day. Yeah. I glassed up. I saw it had antlers. It was the last day of season, and I'm gonna go kill that deer. And I shot it. It was actually a 3x2. It was like a one. If you were going to put a number on it, it's like a 150-inch framed out deer, mature buck, but it's a 3x2. Hard antler gray cape,
But at that time when you shot that, I was starting to figure out what I was doing where I could do that. Mm-hmm. And there was something to it because I would have never thought to glass off where you were glassing.
Off I-70, yeah. Say it, man. Everybody else hunts it, so.
Yeah, but I mean, right off I-70. Well, we killed 2 sheep glassing from the highway. And but the moral of the story is, like, most people don't follow the wind, right? They don't And you hunt all day when the wind's blowing, you pretty much scare everything away. You get a constant wind where you think it's amazing how many people that actually pay attention to the wind actually shoot stuff in the middle of the day because everything's not running away from you.
Right.
And we had a guy come to the shop the other day. He knew he brought up your name. He's from Texas, moved up here. And he goes, "You used to hunt with Mark?" Like, yeah. We were talking, and I was thinking at the time, I'm like, Mark would love to hear this conversation because I got into him. I'm like, what do you mean you got into him? He goes, well, they were running away. I'm like, were you hunting in the middle of the day? Yeah. I'm like, did you pay attention to the wind? Not really. I'm like, I would stop that, right? Like, I would stop that. And he's like, well, what do you do? I'm like, in the middle of the day, I sleep a lot. I'll glass some. I don't hunt. I'm like, and what about watering holes? I'm like, well, the wind is still blowing in every direction, so nothing's coming to drink in that specific water hole. And I don't think guys take a lot of those things into consideration. And a lot of that stuff I learned from you, specifically, one, you can't kill it if you don't go.
Yeah.
And the antelope he shot when I was with you was, it was the dark side of the moon. It was like their 2 hobbits came by and threw a ring at us, right? It was nothing out there. And
flat as a pancake.
He jumped out of the truck because where you hunt antelope out there, you just drive around and spine them and jump out of the truck and go stalk them. And I remember thinking, like, how the hell did he kill? I saw the antelope where it was. There wasn't a blade of grass between, and you ended up actually having it coming at you.
I spooked them and they circled and started coming back to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Where most people wouldn't even have tried to shoot that thing. And I drove around there. He's dragging the antelope back. I'm like, huh.
Well, the fun part for me, though, for me, what was the coolest part of that whole antelope that I killed that day was my son was with us.
Yeah.
And hanging out. He was like 9 or 10 years old, hanging out. He had a BB gun, he's shooting at gophers and stuff while we're out shooting antelope. And this is like the first or second time me and Snyder's ever hunted together, right? And Travis, my son, back then, he's in the back, picking boogers, whatever. He's back in there with feet in the air, playing G.I. Joes, whatever, in the back of the car. And Snyder, he's all intense with his binoculars up, watching the horizon. I go out on this thing, like he said, the moon, man. I go out there, and I shoot it, and I just come back, and I remember this. The whole thing was like epic because I got my bow in one hand and this dead antelope by that horn in the other, and I'm just walking back to the truck, just dragging it, and he's over there going, "Holy, I think your dad shot something." And Travis is back there digging, like, yeah, and then he's like, "No, man, seriously, dude, your dad shot something." He goes, "This is the first time you hunted with my dad?"
Yeah.
And then as a father, you're going, my boy, man. Yeah, so Travis is like, "Oh yeah, he does that all the time, man. Sometimes he don't even come back."
Yeah. Well. That is exactly what I'm talking about, and people don't without, it's sounding arrogant, right? Because I don't shoot big animals all the time. I shoot small, medium, and everything else. But I went hunting with a super cool guy. His name's Billy, right? Ryan Avery and I was at a level at that point. We hiked in like 8 miles, and I'm like, the bears are going to be over there, right? Yeah. I know animals. I know bears. And we're watching. Bears came out. It's almost dark, and he was me when I met you. Yeah. He throws his pack on. I mean, he's ready. He said, Goonies never say die. We're going. I'm like, dude, just shoot it in the morning, all right? I'm like, it's late. We're probably not going to get there. We're going to scare everything off.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we're going to go. And I'm like, no, we're not going to go. We're going to shoot it in the morning. I'm like, we're like 7 miles in, dude. Nobody hikes this far to shoot a bear anyway. There's not anybody going to be over there. I promise you. Wake up the next morning and went over and shot the bear. He's like, what's your ratio of killing stuff? I'm like, oh, we kill stuff every time we go. I'm like, it wasn't a big bear. It was like 180 pounds. In fact, I told him to shoot the wrong bear. Yeah. I feel like it now, but there was a cinnamon bear and a black bear. Yeah. I really want to see the cinnamon bear die. He's like, which one's bigger? I'm like, oh, the cinnamon bear's bigger. And he shot it, and he's like, that cinnamon bear wasn't bigger, was it? I'm like, no, it wasn't. But he was talking about it, and he goes, dude, what is it? And I'm like, well, think about what we did. We were smart. We sat there. We didn't run over there last night and try to shoot stuff in the dark. I'm like, it would have been late. So we watched this morning. We watched what they did. We figured out what they were doing. We walked over and shot one. Yeah. Pretty common sense, but we paid attention. We had the wind right and everything else. Where last night, most guys, really energetic, like when I met you myself, I would have run in there half-cocked, guns blazing, right? And then been like, well, I got into them, and I've been telling a story how I got into some animals rather than how I killed one. And
right.
I learned a lot of that from you.
I still make that mistake. Like, I'll go in, we'll go into an area, and
you're looking at Anthony. There's a reason.
Dude, especially it's the first couple days of the hunt. Like, once we've been there, we're like, okay. And it's not just me either, but I remember this one time I saw this mule deer on this hillside. I'm like, I'm going to stalk it. What should have been like a 3-hour stalk, I tried to do in 15 minutes, and it bounced.
Yeah, right.
And I was you get excited, and you're like, well, it's been a while since I've done this, I forgot.
Sure.
You lose that patience and that, I don't know. That.
Oh, yeah. There was one time I jumped him off, and I mean, anybody can say what they want about hardcore, whatever. You hunt antelope, you drive around in a circle until you find one. You jump out and try to shoot it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you jumped out, and for whatever reason, I turned around and come back and tell you something, and you're like, come here. Don't do that. And I'm like, what? And you're like, I got it, okay? You don't. They don't like cars that much. I figured it out because I was going to cut because he hadn't gotten that far off the road yet. Uh-huh. And I remember thinking, it wasn't that smart of me to do. U-turns are probably bad for animals with 10-power vision.
Don't come back.
Yeah.
Unless you see me standing here with a dead antelope or an empty quiver, don't come back.
How old was I then?
I don't know. I was 30 or 31.
24
so
then. Yeah, 24. And I mean, it was. Is that my phone? Turn that thing off. It was a fun time. The tournament shooting at that time, and I shoot better now, believe it or not, than I did then. But at that time, like my heart in it now isn't in it. Like it's just not me. But at that time,
you hear Mark? He's got a recurve now.
Yeah, I have a recurve. I have Stalker.
Do you?
Yeah. South Cox, the man. So I got one of his. Oh yeah. I've killed small game and some gophers and birds and stuff, but being Texas is a target-rich environment. I'm going to start hunting with a little more in Texas, and it's really tough because you only have so many hunts and so much time. And being in the sponsored game on pro staffs and things like that, there's a level you have to. Yeah. You have to reach that level. People need catalog picks. You got to do your part, right? So if you want to be on a pro staff and really support a bow brand and give them what they're looking for, there's very little time for yourself. And I 100% will not sell myself for the traditional part of archery. That is 100% purely for me. Mm-hmm. And I want a wooden bow in my hand. I want, and Marv Klinke, a great traditional bow hunter out of Colorado, a legend, is actually building me some actual wooden, shafts out of Bodark, and I want to have that true pure deal when I shoot stuff with those. But
this guy's showing some promise too.
Yeah, I heard he's deadly. I'm deadly from here to that thing right there. If there's a deer at 7 feet, 8 feet, he's dead meat, man. But
it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, shoot it in the hoof when I'm in front of it, right? But I mean, right now I can kill the hell out of foam. I'm good. at a level like I was with the compound.
Wow.
I grabbed the compound.
That's great, man.
It's got to transition some. Did you feel like moving to traditional? Did you carry over some of those shooting skills and stuff from compound?
I built my foundation on form. No matter what you do, if you're lifting weights, if you're running, if you're putting on a pack, or if you're shooting a bow, it's on form, right?
Yeah.
So I just took, and I went in thinking I knew stuff, kept it to myself, and went to people that I know stuff, and I said, show me how. So I don't want to ever be that. You'll never hear me say, yeah, I know. I'll never say that. There's always someone who knows more than me. So I'd go to the best person I know that does that and say, I want to shoot one of those. And they'll hand you a bow and arrow, and they'll say, well, shoot it, let me watch you. And I just shoot it the way I know how, and they're like, yeah, just keep doing that. Just keep doing that till you hit the spot you're shooting at. And that's how it was for me. But I'd already had one, but I wanted to really learn. So I just took the mental. Everything's mental. It's all mental, brother, you know? Mm-hmm. So I just took the mental mindset of I'm going to shoot form and repeat that form every single time. And it's very simple to shoot traditional archery. It's just you have to have faith.
Yeah.
You don't have a pin to line up. You have to believe that and I used to do the, what do they call that when you look at your
shoot?
Yeah, or look at your point and all that. Now
shoot.
I actually just hold it because you get target panic. A lot of guys don't want to get into it because they'll get target panic, wanting to let the arrow go too soon, right? So I draw back and I make myself count it out and give myself time to adjust. And it's just like throwing a football. If you have good eye-hand coordination and you'll give yourself that extra second to line that up, man, that arrow is going to be it may not be in the center of the 12 ring, but it's a killing shot.
Yeah.
Is that what you found?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've also found that where I was shooting, 12s on, an alligator at 50 yards. Now I'm like, I hit foam.
Yes, baby. So gratifying to shoot foam. Oh my gosh! And if it's a brain shot, it's even better. Right?
Oh
Shot
Lord!
in the eyeball.
I think though that the one thing with the trad bow, because I use the compound as a crutch. You're not afraid to reach out and touch them either. Maybe not as far as I would. Well, but I'm gonna have to.
I used to would.
Yeah, I used to could. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to get closer now and. I may shoot bigger animals because if I'm not close, I might as well shoot the big one where, like last year with elk, there's several elk out there, and finally one stood out there for a while, and I'm like, well, he stood there long enough, I'll probably just kill him. Where with a trad bow, I'm going to have to have more patience, get closer.
Talking about South, when I did a podcast with South way back, and when we were sitting there I think what he said was, I was asking, well, how close do you get or something like that. But he said something that's still in my head today. He's like, I think he said the last 4 deer I killed, 4 bucks I killed, they're measured in feet, not in inches.
Yeah.
Or yards.
Right.
Feet, not in yards.
Have you watched any of his videos?
That's close, dude. That's feet.
He's an anomaly. He's an anomaly. I don't know how he does it, and I watch him, but he's one of those smaller framed, sporty guys, I call him, right? He can just get in there, man, and he lays it down. But
this year he took his pants off to kill one.
Yeah, I did
don't
too
know.
with a compound.
Yeah, it's amazing he didn't snap his bow in half with all the ones he missed.
Yeah.
Now I have the first time I watched that video, I just watched it.
Yeah.
Whatever, threw in the corner, threw a dip in, and whatever. Went to the gym. Second time I watched it, I'm like, whoa, because I'd been shooting the recurve, and I'm like, wow, I hope that doesn't happen to me because I'll snap that freaking bow in half if I miss that many times. But he just kept. He's like little engine that could.
Yeah.
Man, can you believe that was a great stock, but I missed. And I'm like, there'd been some F-bombs coming out of me. I was like, holy cow.
and I think he was really frustrated. I mean, for South to show the emotion he showed, just showed how frustrated he was.
Yeah, he's a master, man. He truly is. Like, I love it, and I love doing it, and I share my experiences, man. And I wish South would give seminars, but be truthful about that whole thing. Some of this can't be taught.
Yeah,
you just have to go do it, and that guy's got the ability like no one else I know, man.
Him reading the land from what I've gathered is you either have that that can't be taught.
That's real analytical, mathematic. When I was at his shop and I watched him build a bow, there's just some attention to detail and craftsmanship, and in his house, the woodwork within his house that he's done. It's like. It's all beautiful and amazing, and he likes that much building the bows, I think, as much as shooting the bows.
Yep.
And that right there, but it takes a certain mind, and I think it just carries over into that where he analyzes that what he calls microtopography, and sees those little folds and cracks and stuff, and then in his head he's like, "Yep, I found a way," and then he goes and does it, and I don't know. I failed miserably. I stalked a bull elk that bedded on this hillside this year. It was the most epic. He bedded. I got there. I'm like, "Yep, got it. Okay." Got over there, had no clue where I was, wandered around by this elk for 6 hours, bedded within 80 yards.
We did a podcast on this, and I was talking about using the compass and figuring out. He's like, "Man, I circle." Wasn't it somebody watching you?
Yeah,
and
Bryce was.
You went right over the top of it
on his radio, and he's like, "No, you're not by that elk. He's over there." And I'm like, "Where?" And it was a disaster.
When we were in a different story, but funny, when we were on Tiburon Island, you have a Hispanic gentleman helping you when you get there so you don't get shot by drug dealers. So he comes out on the hunt with us, and he's like, he goes, we go after this sheep, and we call him, and we're like, "Hey, wait, whatever, where are we?" It was, Aron, I cannot see you. And I'm like, "What do you mean you can't see us?" And I'm like, "Where's the sheep?" "It's by that rock." And I'm like, "What rock?" And we're talking.
That's how Bryce was like, "It's by that medium tree." What's a medium tree?
Well, that's medium tree. I'm like, Hefe. I'm like, "Dude, what rock? I can't see anything. Am I close?"
It's rocks everywhere.
And I'm like, "Dude, I'll take my shirt off." And like 2 minutes later, I still did not see you. And I mean, this was like 185, 86-inch desert. And I'm like, "Dude,
oh, wow.
What can I do to make this where you can find me?" And he's like, "I do not know." We never did kill the ram, right? But cool. Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap this up. I think we got another Corey Jacobson. You're friends with him, aren't you?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. He's up next. But man, I'm glad you came on here. And
man, I'm glad you guys had me. It's awesome.
I'm glad we remained friends. We've always been friends.
We'll always be friends, man.
Yeah,
we're cool.
Super cool.
We outgrew our knuckleheadisms, and
it took me a while, right? But I got it.
I think that's what it's all about, though. Like presenting a positive image for hunting. We're going to do a podcast later today with Mountain Ops and some folks, and we're going to talk about how brands shouldn't define friendships.
No.
Because you see that all the time.
Segue, yeah.
Like, because this guy's with Wilderness Athlete and this guy's with Mountain Ops, we can't be friends. It's like,
that's ridiculous.
And that's just got to stop,
Yeah,
and I see a lot, from my limited experience, it's been mostly all positive like that. People have been, that doesn't matter, No. That doesn't matter.
No, man, my friends are my friends.
Yeah. Well, Mark, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Hey, man, thank you.
Stay gritty. Thanks for coming on.
Good seeing you again, brother. All right, man.
Okay, gritty friends. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. If you haven't heard, we're doing a huge gear giveaway to try and grow and expand the gritty community on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a bunch of friends to pitch in on this gear giveaway, and they all came through with some awesome stuff. Our friends at Kafaru, Rockslide, First Light, Phelps Game Calls, One Shot Gear, Mountain Ops, Triple X Archery, Blacktail Outdoors, and Is It September Yet are pitching in some sweet gear for the giveaway. We'll announce all the details in the next few weeks. All you have to do to be entered to win is like our Gritty Bowmen Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.